Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well, some interesting developments. First, that F-16 that was shut down by the Russian missile. The Russians finally confirm doing that. And I will report to you what kind of means they used to down the mighty F-16. The second one that is reported to crash in Ukraine. So that's the first topic. The second topic, maybe we find out why Mr. Merz won, the German elections and Mr. Scholz lost the German elections. And that has to do with the support for Ukraine. You changed, as I said, you change the face of the same garbage. You have the same garbage, you change the face. Why? Because people get tired of the same face. Then you change it. And then it's the honeymoon so-called. When you like the guy for about a year and a half, and then again the relations sour. You figure out what's going on with this guy. So Mr. Merz, the so-called conservative who won the elections, is gonna put together a coalition government, which is garbage, and he said that he's okay with TAURUS missiles going to Ukraine. Scholz was not. Remember, Scholz was the liberal one, Merz is the conservative one, and the German people voted actually for the alternative for Germany, which right now is in the first place. So the alternative for Germany is against the war in Ukraine. Supposedly they are far right. Then we have the center right, Mr. CDU Merz, who won the elections, and supposedly this one is for sending missiles, and the other ones are against somehow, but only Scholz. Everybody else on the other side was for. I will explain. Anyway, Germany is ready to send TAURUS missiles to Ukraine to hit Russian targets. And in the same breath, we find out that the same Merz comes out and says, my Deutsche Volk, your standard of living sucks. But you know whose fault it is? Can you guess? Not their sanctions that actually hit them, in the economy, in the energy sector. No. It's someone else's fault. So we're going to discuss that one. And then we have Mr. Lavrov, the foreign minister of the Russian Federation, saying something very, I would say normal, but he says it out loud and clear. He's explaining who is actually now fighting Russia and what's the end goal. They say, well, we know it's the end goal right here is the Russia and then China after that. But no, he's going to explain how the Americans are using the European territory, land, to do something with the Euro-Atlantic alliance. That's a very interesting connection that, I think, how should I put it, idea that Lavrov just expresses it nonchalantly. So let's start with the first topic, which is the F-16 fighter jet, the mighty jet that was designed in 1969, 68, remember? Yeah, those times, when they used nails to build them. Here it is, Russia Today. Russian military confirms shooting down Ukrainian F-16 jet. It's interesting, if you remember, the Ukrainians came out and said that one F-16 pilot lost his job, was killed while in action or something like this. The other euphemism for an F-16 was blown up by someone, and the pilot, the Ukrainian pilot, obviously lost his life. That means he didn't have a chance to eject. Why? How come you don't see the missile? The F-16 doesn't see the incoming missile? That is garbage, according to me. If this F-16 is at the 21st century standards, war standards, that F-16 should have seen the missile coming. Therefore, if you can't block it in the next, a certain kind of distance, you out, or you just go with the ship. Let's see what the Russians say hit the F-16. Moscow has reported the destruction of a US-designed warplane for the first time. Russian forces have shot down a US-designed F-16 fighter jet operated by Ukraine. I'm not certain about by Ukraine, but anyway, the defense ministry in behalf of Ukraine, I would say that. The defense ministry in Moscow has said, it is the first time the Russian military has announced the destruction of an F-16 since Kiev's western backers began deliveries of the fourth-generation aircraft to Ukraine last summer. You see this? So it's the first time when the Russians say, well, we destroyed this guy. The other time, probably it was a friendly fire because they didn't say we shot it down. But this time they say, yeah, we did it. So that means, you see, that's why, and I'm sorry to say that for most people, the Russians, who are lying as well, are more consistent in telling the truth than the other side. The other side is more shady, and the volume of lies is like this. The Russians' volume of lies is like this. The CNN is like this, and the American operatives. So let's see. Opa, the cat brought me a toy. Oh my God, Mia, what did you bring? A big toy. How did you get it here? Because you're strong. Okay, so let's see what the Russians say. An F-16, I'm quoting, of the Ukrainian Air Force was shot down by air defense means, the ministry said in its daily briefing on Sunday, without revealing any further details. Why do you think it's so? On Saturday, the Ukrainian Air Forces reported the loss of one of its F-16 fighters. An interdepartmental commission was then established to find out what caused the plane to go down, it added. Vladimir Zelensky later confirmed that Ukrainian pilot Pavel Ivanov had been killed during an F-16 combat mission. Got it? Okay, they said that it could have been 3 missiles. The Russians fired 3 missiles at the plane. It was either a guided aircraft missile, an S-400 ground-based system, or R-37 air-to-air missile. Air-to-air means that comes from another plane, my friends. So, the Russians do not say what they used. Why? They don't know. I think they do know. I tell you, I think, why. For now, they are creating unknown. Let the guys guess. Why? Because if you reveal your source, these guys might take countermeasures. Therefore, they say, well, our air defense systems or whatever destroyed it. They say here that Belgium, Denmark, Netherlands, and Norway pledged to supply Kiev with up to 80 F-16s. All right, we don't know yet how many are delivered right now. They say in 2024, Ukraine received about 18 aircraft. So they didn't reveal the Russians yet. They will reveal it. You know when? When they have to advertise it. But that's when will be the war almost over. I guarantee you that. Why? Because these guys will say, oh, we can't adapt or anything. But now they let it like this. For a while, I guarantee you that they will tell us. And they can invent whatever. They can say it was a guy with an AK-47. What are you going to do? Over the Ukrainian skies, 3,000 miles away from Vladivostok. The point is this. That guy got shot by a Russian missile. And my surprise is that the guy did not eject. The F-16 should have been warned that that missile is coming. Therefore, get the fuck out because you realize if it's coming from that. Or maybe he tried to evade. I don't know. I do not know the orders. All right, that's the first one. Next one. Let's see how the German people will be dragged by the globalists into fighting in Ukraine. I will show you. So this is the second topic. February 10th, 2025. This is Germany. Scholz refuses to change stance on missiles for Ukraine. This is February 10th. I picked this to show you chronology. I think on the 28th, 26th or something, there were elections. He lost. And who won? This guy, another baboon. Supposedly, this guy, very, very tough guy. This guy is going to be the new chancellor, the face of Germany, right here. Well, we had Scholz, which is not much different. I mean, look at this guy, the Germans. But somehow, neither have hair, or lack of, whatever. Doesn't matter. I mean, there are a lot of tough people without hair, aren't they? So here, next German Chancellor ready to arm Ukraine with TAURUS missiles. Next, Merz, the same baboon, backs TAURUS missiles for Ukraine, eyeing Russian supply line. So he already says what he's going to hit. Right? And he says incoming Chancellor warns Germans of falling income. Why is that? Why is that, Baboonstein? Friedrich Merz had admitted that increased social security contributions could put pressure on net salaries. Not only that, I think this as well and your sanctions. So let's discuss about this little fast move by the globalists. This is what they do. Why do you think the little girl, Justin Trudeau, just left? He just left. He was not voted out, he just left. Why? Because people got sick of his face and his lies right now are too exposed. So the population, you always change it. You want change. I'm not going to go into other areas where men want change. But here you have change. Why? People get on you. They already know who you are. Therefore, you can't fool them. So you change the face, but the shit is the same. Until you figure it out, he's going to, for a few years, he's going to be just fine. He's going to implement the policies. So let me tell you this. This is the socialist, as I call them. Mr. Scholz, socialist. Everybody here on the left of me, no, right of you. This guy, all on the left, like the Greens, which is infantile. Annalena Baerbock, she was the foreign minister of Germany. Can you believe that? Yeah, I can. With all those years, and anyway, you have to have them over there in charge so you can, maneuver. If they're too smart and have a little bit of patriotism, they might do something, and they don't want that to happen. So we have on the left all these guys except Scholz said, yes, let's send, including Pistorius. Pistorius was what was his name? Pistorius, the defense minister of Germany. Let's send TAURUS. Let's send TAURUS, except this guy who could stop the TAURUS, and that was the baboon only, Scholz. No problem, we're going to have fast elections. They didn't have to have the elections on February. They had them fast. And then from the leading party, the socialists fell. These guys, the baboons with Merz, won with 28%, and supposedly are the conservatives on the right. And they said, you know what? Yeah, let's send that. The missiles. They were voted in the office by the people, the conservatives, who don't want missiles to be sent. But somehow he just said, you voted for me, ha ha ha, you can't do anything about it right now. I'm gonna send them. Why? Because on the right of Mr. Merz, this baboon right here, on the right of Mr. Merz, there's alternative for Germany. An alternative for Germany is definitely against sending TAURUS missiles. Therefore, the people on the right are against sending them. And by the way, Alternative for Deutschland surpassed the Weasel's party. So now the guys on the right, the far right, are the biggest party in Germany. They're going to ban it probably. That's the next move in Germany. That's how it works in Germany. In democracies, when the wrong people are voted in office by the population. Or at least that's a possibility. Like in Romania, like in France with Marine Le Pen, Romania, Călin Georgescu, and Alternative for Deutschland will be next. So that's how this guy said, we're going to put this guy, Merz, who's actually, is not, how should I put it, honest to what he stood for. Now he wants to send them boy and see where that gets. And then in the same breath he said, well, you guys have a living standard that's going back, and it's because of contributions to the people, social security, why? Well, they impose sanctions on them. Their manufacturing industry is going down. Why? If you need energy 3 to 4 or 5 times to pay for your energy, that means your cost of production is going to be increased. That means you can't sell the product cheaper. You have to sell it according to have a profit plus the cost of production. Now, if someone has cheap energy to create and cheap labor, and they create something a little bit worse than your product, people will go for that. If your product, as I said, if this, let's say you sell it for $1,000 and the Chinese sell something close to this for about $20, who do you think people will buy? The $2,000? But how, I'm exaggerating, so, understand exactly what's going on. But hey, it's not my fault, it's Putin's fault, because we had to impose sanctions on Russia because Russia was fighting us. Well, that's how the media operatives painted it. And now let's go to the last one, to Mr. Lavrov, the foreign minister of Russian Federation. 12th of April, Euro-Atlantic community gearing up for war. The militarization effort is being driven by Germany, ram pam pam, France, we already know that, and United Kingdom. Russia's top diplomat has said. And let me show you how they are getting ready. And who's in charge, I said? The US. Euro-Atlantic international organizations have failed to deliver stability and security to the region, and now their members are preparing for a major new war. The top diplomat delivered he said Lavrov criticized what he described as Euro-Atlantic structures and cooperation in Europe, OSCE, stating that the group have ultimately failed to deliver on their proclaimed goals. And I'm quoting, "The security issues after the Second World War in our common region were defined in terms of Euro-Atlantic logic. NATO and the EU were essentially European," he said. "The EU recently signed an agreement with NATO. The EU is now part of Euro-Atlantic policy. There is no doubt about that, including making its territory, European Union's territory, available for the alliance's plans to move to the east, to the south. I don't know where else." All right, so it says, "I believe all these Euro-Atlantic structures have failed. They have failed to strengthen security and stability." Well, it's a little bit discussable, but nevertheless, I think I agree with him 98%. I can't say 99, but 98. So here it is, my friends. Germany, France, and the United Kingdom. The Americans are just operating from behind the scenes and say, guys, actually, it's not the Americans. You have to look at it this way. There's the highest echelon that we just know it's there, but we can't really pinpoint to who's there. Obviously, it's not the baboons, Zuckerbergs, and this. These are just sparrow in the air. If these guys want, just boom, 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 one of them and they're gone. That's higher interest, powers, forces, however we want to call it. That is the organizer of the system. They are the ones with creating the matrix. And these guys use countries, the strongest countries, to impose their will through the strongest countries, economies, military, political, and intelligence, which is services, spies, and so on, to make the little baboons that they don't have to invest over there do what they want. So it's the guys in charge using the weapon to straighten things out. The problem is they have a problem now with Russia, China, who want to go outside of the system. And that's why we're going to have these things. So when you hear the Americans are there, but the American says, you know what, we're going to focus on something else, but you, Europe, are going to take the torch and you're going to be the torch bearers or whatever of the globalist, the interest. So it is right now. And the Americans are going to be focused on a different point of the globalists, which is the Middle East. That's where the Americans are right now. And the Americans, unfortunately for some and fortunately for others, show their limitations. They can't fight even 2 wars. They have to focus on Iran and they can't fight in Ukraine. Why? They will get bruised, to say the least. Since they said, okay, Europe is going to take care of Ukraine and Russia, we're going to take care of Iran, and after we're done with Iran, if we're done with Iran, maybe we move back to Ukraine, these guys hold the line, then we come and we settle things. I wouldn't be surprised after these guys settle things with Iran for you know who, then come back over there, come back to Ukraine and said, you know what, that's it, no deal. And they will point out something, I don't know, Putin farted on Tuesday. Well, for that reason, we cannot make a deal with you. We have to go full force. And they will go for full force. The problem is they cannot fight, it seems like, two fronts, let alone 3 fronts with China and Taiwan, or maybe with the woodchuck in North Korea. That's so, it's so obvious. If the United States of America will be so tough, will take all these guys, smack them around in 3 days. But they're not. Not even in a month, not even in a year, not even never. That shows you limitations, which is fine. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just. See you later.